a nice 90-minute episode on the forces behind Star Wars.
Nice.
There you go.
Well, welcome everybody. Here, let me get rid of our Andor banner because we're not doing Andor quite yet, right? Right yet. Let me see. Oh, here we go. Look at this. Inflatable Falcon. Oh no, that says Kenobi spoilers. I gotta fix that.
Well, we could spoil Kenobi for somebody.
Yeah. Well, sometimes I wonder for podcasts if every Star Wars podcast should almost just be spoiler. You should just assume it's going to be spoilers. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like, as if I like today driving in, I made sure I didn't listen to Star Wars podcast. Driving home, driving in, or if it was an old one, but I had to do the podcast cleanup this weekend because my catcher was getting too full, so I had to get rid of a few. So I figure. Oh, here we go. This is one. So I have something.
Hey, it's that one eBay guy.
Who?
One eBay guy.
Oh yeah.
I don't think we've ever hung out with him.
I've got one eBay. That's a really good name. Wrong account. Oh wait a minute. Does he's a secret? He's a secret.
Is that Arc 77?
I bet you it's Arc 77. He's like, what? They know my secret identity now. He's pulling the little envelope and getting his to go bag. He's like, they know who I am.
I have a very fragile setup right now.
Well, it looks like you've been abducted and you're recording from the trunk of a car.
Yeah. Blink if they have you.
Yeah, how well I'll be able to display it here, but my mirror is without. It's just it really looks like I'm a kidnapped victim.
Yeah, you are close to being kidnapped in the trunk of a car.
But yeah, but like I'm having it propped up on my steering wheel, and I had to put my hoodie bump backwards. There we go. Look, I don't like missing the podcast. What can I say?
All right. Well, I'm trying to get us tickers to. I think it's alphabetizing my tickers. It's strong. Oh, here we go. There we go. Hello from each of us. So let's all go down the row and just say hello and how our week was going. So we'll start with the youngest, which is me. No, I'm just kidding. With John. How's your week going, John?
It's not too bad. I am currently not in any danger. I'm just in a different location. So for those of you that were worried,
it'll be our first Blair Witch Project inspired podcast.
Yeah.
Well, for that, I would have to be like right here, where it's like just chin up.
And you have to have a runny nose too.
You gotta have a runny nose.
Right. Yeah. I only have about 25, maybe 45 minutes in me. I have to run off to wrangle some children for my arse. So, but like I said, I'm committed. I'm committed to the. I will not miss a week unless it's absolutely dire.
So you've clocked in tonight from Parts Unknown.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, Ken. How was your week? A quick howdy.
Well, considering it's Wednesday and it feels like it should be Friday, I'm doing all right. We, you had asked me earlier how our episode went. So last night, 4 of the 5 Rad Batch got together to record an episode for the Forces Behind Star Wars, and we talked through the first 5 episodes of the Andor show.
Yeah.
So that was pretty fun. I mean, we got together for about 90 minutes, and without a script, without show notes, I think we did really well, and we answered some of your questions that you had sent to us through our Facebook post. So thanks for
I wanted to give you something to talk about. Yeah, my week's going all right too. I didn't have as much excitement as that though. That sounds good. I know what it's like to do a podcast just with the girls, of getting them together. I can't imagine that many people getting together at once. I'm surprised you don't get out like one episode a year.
Yeah. Well, sadly, Demetrius wasn't able to join us, and already based on our schedules, he won't be able to join us for the next one. We've already scheduled the next episode out, and that's going to come out right before Thanksgiving. So that we'll record it right before Thanksgiving.
He should just come on Wednesdays. We'll poach him. We'll poach him.
Yeah,
You know?
He can sit in the cargo hold.
Yeah.
Once John's out of it.
Yeah. No, but my week was all right. Again, it was I got to see Andor, which was really nice. But besides that, I'm pretty uneventful. I'm kind of in the same boat with you, Ken, in the sense that I'm like, it really feels like it should be Friday for me. My students are feeling the mid-August nuttiness, so but that's pretty much it. So
are both of you caught up on Andor? Are you?
I am. Yes.
You watched all 6 episodes?
Yeah.
Yep.
I tried to get up early to watch it today, and like my alarm, I had it set for 5, and my brain would not let me do anything other than just hit the snooze. It was like, no, I can't do it. So yeah, I got, as soon as I got home, I watched it. I'm gonna probably do a rewatch of that one. There was a lot happening at first, but it was good. All right, let's let me see. Oh, here, I'm gonna put this. Only because of Matt's cryptic post in Facebook.
I didn't see it. What post you talking about?
Oh,
what?
You're a fake. You're a fake clapper boy.
Wow.
Oh no, I've got the prescription for my doctor to prove that one false.
Oh, okay. Right. That sounds like a whole nother show that we should probably have a medical professional talking about. No, he posted something about like it's filming season, or I forget how he posted, but I was like, what? I was like, I'd like to hear that. So I don't know what that means. Like it was just very cryptic. He's been putting out all these special effects and stuff that's been done to it, but it's so. At first, I was like, wait a minute, are you putting these out to tell us that we were all replaced by special effects, or are you just getting us hyped for something? So,
that's pretty funny.
I mean, I want to hope that I almost fell down in my Sand Trooper armor for something.
Well,
John drove
the blooper reel.
And John drove 1,000,000 miles for something, Though I still,
I was just happy to be a part of it.
Yeah. So I don't know. That's all I have. But Matt was. So anyone out there, go check out the Han Solo Chronicles, and I have to still break down and spend $5 on a pair of headphones. I don't know. It just keeps going in and out. It's driving me insane.
Safi doesn't have a spare pair you could borrow?
When I need something, everyone disappears. That's just the house becomes like tumbleweeds. Like, hey, help.
I'm in the basement
That's
all
the way
by
she
myself.
goes.
All right. Upcoming troops or previous troops?
What do you got, youngster?
So
Wait a
I
minute,
actually have a very good.
You sound like that. See, right now we can.
Spotty.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, yeah. Well, you're getting like a delay. It's almost like I'm watching a really badly dubbed movie of John.
That's so frustrating.
You and Zoe should do a podcast together, and then we'll all pull our hair out together.
Yeah. We'll just watch it, trying to make sense of it.
Let me know how bad it is. Oh, and when you hear me say fire, you got it?
No.
Oh, dear God.
There we go. We heard "Dear God" right there and then.
Really? That's what you heard?
Yeah. Yeah, now you stopped. Anyway, Ken, while John gets his technical difficulties out, have you had any? Did you have an armor party recently?
There's one coming up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's this weekend. I may or may not be able to go to that based on car repairs because I live too far away from you to have you teach me how to do them.
Well, yeah, car repairs are not fun.
Yeah, so depending on how that goes, I may go to the armor party this weekend, and next weekend there's an event in New Jersey that I may go to. I don't remember the name of it. It's a long, like, Geekapalooza, Fanopolis. It's one of those longer names that I don't remember off the top of my head.
Well, Brickfest is this weekend.
Oh, at Oaks, PA?
Oaks, PA. So I will be at Brickfest on Sunday.
Wow.
I'll be there with the droid builders.
Okay.
I'm just helping out the table. I may take my Sandy. I don't know. If I take my Sandy, some people's heads might explode, but I might take my Sandy and help out the droid builders. So, because I got to wear that. There's some pieces that have to be trimmed, and I just got to wear that a little bit. So
that's cool.
That's my.
I got to do a bunch. I feel so disconnected from things based on, current events in our household. So I got to get back connected to that world again.
Yeah, well, in my house, it's like September, October. Not really. Normally, not till right before Thanksgiving. Everything is just always in a big mess. Like, I'm surprised I've been able to do this almost every week, just because school's starting, my robotics team starts, and just everything gets thrown at you for So, but yeah, I'm gonna try to troop that. If you're near Oaks, PA, I think isn't it called like Philadelphia area or something? But it's nowhere near.
It's the Philadelphia Convention Center.
Yeah, but it's not anywhere near Philly.
No, sorry. The greater
Philadelphia. But yeah, it's out kind of in the I guess you would call it like the urban sticks, because it's not like out in the country, but it kind of is.
Well, would it be gentrified country?
Maybe, I don't know. That's one of those convention centers. I just wish they had a hotel next to it, because I would probably go to. No, but I mean, it was like attached, like it's Steel City. Like, I wish it would, because it's so big and there's so much room. It's just such a cool convention to go to. Any convention they have there is really nice.
There's a hotel literally like less than a mile away.
Yeah, I can't walk a mile on my TK.
Yeah, you can.
Well, maybe. I took Safi to a lizard convention there a couple weeks ago.
Of course,
reptile something, And now I kind of know what people that go with us that have no love for comic books and Star Wars feel like at a convention, because I was just like, oh, this looks like something I hope I never have to buy.
What was really funny is Heather and Eric and I went to that same convention center recently for RetroCon.
Yep.
And so we're standing in line for RetroCon, and at another portion of that convention center, they were doing a collectible sports card sort of event in the same day. And I heard these guys walk by talking to each other about the line, because it was a pretty long line. And like, yeah, these nerds are going to this retro. I'm like, dude, you're carrying boxes of baseball cards. How is come on?
How's that any different?
You're wearing the sports jersey of your favorite sports ball team, and come on.
What's wrong with that?
Well, yeah, John crosses into both worlds. He not only he's the jock that gives the wedgie, but he's also the nerd that receives the wedgie.
So he just wedgies himself.
Yeah, he just gives himself a wedgie and cuts out the middleman.
Yeah, everybody wins.
Yeah, why waste the effort?
Yeah,
because it's not as bad now, but it was the old cons. Like, I used to go. They used to have all the conventions at King of Prussia in the 80s. They were at the hotel right outside of King of Prussia Mall, and I mean, it was almost like you went in secret, like you didn't tell anyone. Yeah, I'm going to a comic book. They'd be like, oh, okay,
Well, I think there's going to be, I don't know if it's this weekend, but it's coming up shortly at that same place. There's a horror convention.
Yeah. Yeah, Andy Wolf, a friend of mine, he's big like into that stuff. Like he built a Michael Myers costume like from all the original stuff. Like you know what I mean? Like just like we do for 500 first stuff. But yeah, so we're RetroCon's cool. Now we did, I think it was or no, not RetroCon. Block. What did I say it was?
Brickfest.
Brickfest. It's like a robotics con. Last time we did that, Marty was in his TK and I was in my TK. And you know how big that convention center is, right? It was full at Brickfest. We walked all the way to the far end and almost were like Pied Pipers bringing people to the Star Wars booth, you know, because they didn't know we were there, you know, because there is something to be said about trooping in the sense that if you're not careful, you can become one of those troopers that just huddle together with your fellow troopers.
Yep.
And that's, even if you don't mean it, it sends that unwelcoming body language that, you know, you kind of have to stay on yourself to be inviting to people. Some people do. So I tend to be more outgoing when I'm in armor than I am in real life.
Yeah, you're just less mobile.
Yeah.
You can't do squat thrusts and all that kind of stuff in your.
Well, I
TK.
normally don't do squat thrusts in my daily, you know. I imagine if I started doing squat thrusts at work, I would probably be arrested and for something, you know. But yeah, Mr. Hinton's doing squat thrusts again. So, but yeah, that's my trooper time. Like, oh, we did so Marty, myself, Dan, and a friend Roddy, we did just a home visit. I was telling John to someone who was suffering from late stage cancer, a young 20-year-old kid, and we did a home visit Sunday, like an unofficial. Just he loves Star Wars, and we went in and saw him, and then we did that Sunday, and he passed away today. So,
sure, it meant a lot to him and his family.
Yeah, I tell you what, it makes you thankful for what you have, and it also makes you realize how strong people are because the family was so gracious to us. Like I felt, I was just, I felt like it. You know, they were just they were so nice, and I don't know if I would be that gracious in that same situation. You know what I mean? Like, but yeah, it kind of grounds you and makes you, you know, we just went in our suits and then headed right back out. You know, and it was nice to see. It was nice to see Marty and his Vader again. Marty has a good, his Vader's nice, and he has a good stance and everything. And Dan did a Tusken, which Dan probably felt like he didn't even have a costume on. So,
yeah, compared to a C-3PO.
Yeah, he might bring C-3PO out to Brickfest. So.
Is that the Tusken he was working on at your armor party this
No,
week?
that was Marty's. That was just Marty's Tusken. Marty bought a really nice Tusken. So the other thing with Trooper Time, it was weird. I went to work Monday, and I got an email from a high school music teacher, which I don't know him from anybody, but he wants to build a TK because their band is doing Star Wars theme this year. They're whatever, and he was like, he wanted one, and he wanted it in 2 weeks. I was like, but
how much money do you have?
Well, he found the website called UK Trooper or something. Have you ever seen it?
I've heard of it.
And they sell these completed kits. And I said to him, I said, look, it was like $1,300. And I said, that's not a bad price. But I said, I'm really worried that the picture they show you is not what you're getting. Because they were selling TK armor in small and large. You know? And the only one I know that makes armor in small and large is Ruby's. Like if you buy Ruby's TK, you can get a small and large, just slightly bigger. The arms are a little bigger, but I don't know of any other armor makers that make TKs. So I told him, I said, look, if that's what you get in the picture, then that's a good price. But I you know, it's hard for me.
I also think, you know, for folks who aren't as well versed in this as the three of us are, just because you buy all the bits doesn't mean that you have all of the stuff that you need.
Well, and that's what I tried to explain to him via email. See, he's emailed me in school email, and two things. It's a school day, so I have to do it at my lunchtime. I don't like doing personal stuff like that but I figured since it was the band, I could kind of get away from it. But I was trying to explain to him in the best way possible that you can't buy it off the rack. You know, like,
Yeah.
and to me, if he knew he was going to make a stormtrooper, they knew they were doing this since like June. If he would have called me in June, we could have had armor. We could have had armor for him, but I don't know. But that I got to check that website. He sent it to me in my work email, and I checked it a little bit. And like I said, it seemed, you know how they show those, like where John, you got your undersuit for your Mando, right? You know those sites like Pro Cosplay and all that stuff.
Okay, Costume Sky.
Those pictures look really good. When you get that stuff, a lot of it's quite different.
The Mando was like as advertised. It wasn't. Yeah. It didn't seem like it was. You know, you see one thing and receive.
Well, I know with the what's her face, Boba Fett's buddy. My mind did with
Fennec Shand.
Fennec Shand. The Fennec Shand picture they showed was the Fennec Shand standee in those costumes with the helmet and stuff. And I had bought from them before, so I didn't really care. You know, I didn't get it with the helmet or anything. But I'm saying to the average person flipping through that, they're, you know, I'm just, like I said, I told him, I said, look, if it's exactly what's on the picture, it's good, because some of those Stormtrooper sites that I've seen, there's off-brand Stormtroopers, they sell that foam Stormtrooper armor. You know, it's like a onesie and you put on, it has the foam pieces.
Yeah.
Like that. But then they'll show you a picture of a Stormtrooper, you know, and in a real small print, it'll say not actually picture, you know, stuff like that. So I don't know.
Right.
It was weird to have Stormtrooper questions at work. So, but that's all. Yeah. That's all. Oh, that's all I got. Let me see. I did have something else I wanted to bring up. I hear you much better now. You seem to. I still think there's a delay though.
Yeah, there definitely is.
And it is crackly though.
Maybe he's popping popcorn.
Well, if I was still in the building, maybe.
I am glad you got to see all the movies, the first 3 in theaters now.
Yeah, I have seen every movie now in theaters. I still have to watch the.
So you can't say you've seen every movie in the theaters then.
Yeah.
Words matter. Words matter.
Every movie that was shown in the United States in theaters.
Hey.
I'm telling you, you got to convince your bosses to do what Penn Cinnamon does, where you can rent the theater and just put your own movie on.
We're a publicly traded company. I'm sure I would have no problem.
Yeah.
But since we're like an actual, like, I would have to convince our CEO, who doesn't even know anybody's name.
Yeah, well, hey. Are you telling me your whole job situation is like the ISB agents in Andor? do you wear your white suit?
You know,
the staff meetings.
Thing is, so me and the Return of the Jedi, and we were one of them said, Dustin, our general manager, is like Darth Vader, and like we went down the list and it's like, oh, Ben is like a Grand Moff. I would be like a director. Kyle, our team lead, would be like he would be Secretary General.
That sounds about right. That sounds about right.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, here, let me.
I do have one thing for. If you guys can hear me better, and then I'm gonna actually head out.
Okay.
Not this Saturday, but next Saturday, I have I forget exactly what it is, and where it's like a really long name that I just don't remember. But I head into 4, and then I have to work 5 to 1, which is so I will be in costume from 10 a.m. until 1 a.m.
That's like working for Matt.
Yeah. Bring some Axe body spray.
Yeah. And put Febreze in your kit. Put a can of Febreze in your tote for all those soft goods.
Way ahead of you. Well, because like I told them like I'm not wearing Kylo Ren, so I gotta borrow a truck and bring both of my kits because I'm gonna wear. So.
Well, Missy got me years ago these charcoal pouches that I used to throw in my tote too, because my tote there for a while I couldn't get it wasn't foot smell as much as it was like the wet leather of the shoe smell, and I put those charcoal things in and it took that right out. So look at that, it looks like the Emperor's chair. I think
doesn't it?
I have never. Ken is the Emperor.
Yeah, I mean he's got a much nicer chair than either of us. So
I have an IKEA chair, which I feel like I put something on backwards because I feel like it's always trying to dump me off the front of the chair.
Yeah, my back or like my chair has an adjustable back in it, but it always feels like it's either one step too far back or one step.
See, my dream is to have one of those old barber chairs. We were commenting on your Emperor's chair.
Oh, thanks. The Fergal that I bought for Heather.
Yeah.
Since she started working remotely, we got one of these gaming chairs for her to.
Nice.
To use.
I never thought of that. I could have probably well, as a teacher, I'm only allowed to write $200 a year off in my taxes.
Well, that's one gaming chair for you.
Dude, yeah. I spend more than that on copies and paper before school even starts.
Copies?
We have to make I have to make copies of like some of the legal documents like IEPs and stuff like that and keep them, and then I have to make plans in case the computers go down. Then I have to, and if I wait for the copier, I have to have them done like by the third or fourth day of school. If I wait for the copier, I'll be in trouble. So I just have to print them myself. Like we wouldn't even have a printer in the house other than Missy has to print hundreds of pages of stuff, like for her job before school starts. So like that's just the joys of August, So, that and books for your classroom. So
right.
But
all right, gentlemen, that's all she wrote for me.
All right. All right.
I see people coming in, so.
All right, cool. We will talk to you next week at the latest on here, but we'll see you before then.
Well, hopefully we see him. I mean, we don't know if his captors will let him loose for next week.
That's true. Pull the tail lights switch and do Morse code on the brake lights if you're in the trunk.
Right. Just MacGyver the whole thing.
All right, man.
Look for that release handle.
Right.
Yeah.
Bye.
All right, guys.
See you later.
See you next week.
See you next week. All right. I don't have anything for you. I don't have a banner for your show, I don't think. But so here, I'll put the unifying fan. So tell us again, you were talking a little bit about recording your episode. So can you give anyone teasers?
We went through the 5 episodes of Andor. And we didn't, interestingly enough, so we were joking around a little bit earlier about saying people who listen to Star Wars podcasts should just, expect spoilers.
Mm-hmm.
And as I was thinking about our show, we didn't really give out too much that would be considered spoilery.
Yeah.
Even if it was, the day of the 5th episode, which it wasn't, but even on here, I think we've done a really good job of not getting too much into the specifics. I mean, I've listened to some shows where it's like, and then so and so said this, and then they did this, and they went to the So it's almost like they're reenacting the whole episode for you on their podcast.
Yeah, that's a different style too. I do think I think Andor is one of those ones that's really hard to spoil because of the way it's written.
See, I can see it getting to the place where there's the possibility of spoilers.
Yeah.
Because I still think that there are going to be some unexpected twists and turns in this series that could be spoilerific.
Right. Well, I'm saying, like, like I think the long form of it, the way it is, you're not there. The nice thing or the bad, depending on how you look at it, there was no Baby Yoda moment in any of the episodes.
Yet.
Yeah. But I'm saying, like, so you didn't have to worry that if you opened up your browser, there's not going to be a picture of like something Andor did. Like nothing, everything I like so far, but nothing like super surprising other than the details of how it happened. You know what I mean? Like I didn't like I was surprised with his origin, but if someone would have explained it to me before I saw it, watching it, it wouldn't have ruined me watching it. If they would have said,
Yeah.
"Oh, his planet was devastated and he was picked up by some scavenger," that I wouldn't have been like, "Oh, okay, now I can't watch it." Where with Mandalorian, if someone would have said, "Oh, and he found a Baby Yoda at the end," you'd have been like, "Oh, thanks, thanks for spoiling it for me." So I like this. I know some people complain about the speed, and you said last week, I don't understand that complaint. Because I think the same people complained that Obi-Wan, they didn't do enough in Obi-Wan.
Yeah, or even the sequel trilogy in terms of how fast things went.
Yeah.
They went from here to Canto Bight in the blink of an eye, that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. It's
Yeah, I don't know. I just really like that. And I don't want to spoil it, but the survival of all the people that survived this last episode and the way some of them died, especially the last one, that's like surprised out of nowhere.
Yeah, and that's some of the twists and the turns that I'm kind of talking about.
Yeah, but I'm saying that was a surprise I didn't know I needed and I didn't know I wanted, because all those characters, they were similar to the Rogue One characters in the sense that they're nobodies. Like you didn't have any, I didn't have any investment in them really.
Well, I think they were building up the investment in them.
Yeah.
Because of the way that they displayed their interactions with each other, that they gave you even those characters, they gave some of the backstory to.
Oh yeah,
like what inspired them to go on this mission.
Frodo's lawn.
Well, that was our dryer. He heard
Oh,
our
that was your
dryer.
dryer. Okay, yeah, I didn't hear it through.
Yeah, that was our dryer that went off.
Yeah, well, I tell you, one of my favorite parts, I think, of this last episode was when they were talking about their religious pilgrimage, which I know sounds really dumb, but when that officer was explaining how the Empire was basically getting rid of those people's pilgrimage and they didn't even know it. You know what I mean?
I think that's some of the stuff that even before the show came out, they had talked about how it's going to be rooted in things that we're experiencing now. And I think it's a wonderful callback to the way that George built the original trilogy.
Yeah.
He built many of the ideas of the original trilogy on things that he experienced growing up, or from the perspective of having witnessed world events and so on, whether you're talking about the Vietnam conflict or World War II or whatever. He put some of those nuggets into the show, and I think the folks that have made Andor are doing a fantastic job of doing the same.
Oh yeah, and I think that all of that is you help people have empathy when they don't realize they were trained to have empathy. Like you see what Star Wars is making you think. Like you never think of the bad guys you never think of the damage is done for little things. Like we live in a country that for 100 years industrialized all over the world without thinking of the consequences. Like, hey, we need to dig up for this and mine for this and cut this down, and this lets you think about that without having to point fingers right away, and it helps you to think through things.
Oh yeah, absolutely. If and that's I'll use big letter I, big letter F. If you're willing to acknowledge that, because I think sometimes what happens with with Star Wars movies and now with Andor, folks get caught up in the other stuff, whether it's the stuff that they don't like or the stuff that that they're frustrated with or annoyed with, that they miss the other parts. And
Right.
not to open up a can of worms or an old wound, I think the same kind of thing happened with The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
There was a lot in The Last Jedi that was on screen and in between the lines, but folks were unwilling to explore it. They
Yep.
wanted to bash it. They wanted to bash the director. They wanted to bash the actors and actresses. However, if you slow down and look at what you're seeing, look beyond what you're seeing to the makers and their inspiration, then these shows take on a whole new being, a whole new experience for you.
Right. Well, and I was thinking today I was thinking about the color orange. I don't know why I was thinking about orange, but being the Rebels' major color and stuff like that. And in the first 3 episodes, when they show all those workers, a large majority of their work clothes were orange. And when you see the native people from Cassian's planet, some of them were wearing like repurposed orange uniforms. So they're throwing that rebellion color in, they're starting to pull that in, which I thought, it just reminded me of, it's like, because most of the time the labor movement, without getting of any kind of system, is usually on the common person's side in one way, shape, or form. You know what I mean? When you look at how, so I just thought that was kind of neat.
Well, you look at over the course of human history, how folks have even used information and education to either gain control of other people or maintain control of other people.
Yeah.
I mean, for the longest time, only rich people were allowed to go to school and learn how to read and all of that kind of stuff, until there was that shift in consciousness. And now well, even today, there in some places in the world, it looks like they try to limit education and who can get it or who can't have it and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, I always say that to my students, because middle school kids are always complaining, why do I have to learn this? Why do I have to learn that? That's just a middle school trait. And I always say to them, education, and when I always preface, education does not necessarily mean book learning. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But education gives you choices. And I always give my students the example of, when you graduate high school, if you choose to work at McDonald's, to work your way up through a corporation, is way different than if McDonald's is your only choice. If that makes sense. And that's, I try to explain them for education. And I think movies educate us way more than we realize. Sci-fi in general, which I wish I could say it started with Star Wars, but it really started with Star Trek. And you could probably even kick it back to a little bit to the old Buck Rogers, and Godzilla. You have Godzilla as your first environmental films, the old Godzilla movies.
Oh yeah, plus the idea of two battling countries.
Yep.
So you had Godzilla, especially when Godzilla started fighting other kaiju like King Kong and stuff like that.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I'm loving Andor. I mean, I can't say enough good things about it.
The other thing I find interesting about many folks who tend to say they don't like it, I haven't heard or read many complete explanations of that. They'll say general things or generic things like it's too fast or too slow, or it's too political, or it's not enough action. And while that may sound specific, I don't see it as specific as it could be. Like, what? So you're saying it's not enough action? Like, what is the limit of actionness that you need to enjoy?
How many explosions? Tell me how many explosions you need per minute.
Yeah. Or how many fight scenes, or how many laser swords do you need for it to be a good show? And then when folks go even one step further and say, "Oh, this is not my Star Wars," What do you mean not your? I'm not really sure what not your Star Wars means.
Well, what's funny is, to me, the pacing of it, at least when people say it's too slow, the pacing of it to me is very reminiscent of what's on TV now. Like if you watch Game of Thrones, or you watch even the Lord of the Rings one, they're on par. Now they might have a few more battles and blood and stuff, but they're on par with that same speed of storytelling.
Well,
And
I think all three of those shows share an interesting common piece in that it's long form storytelling.
yeah,
You know, they're not trying to cram all of the information into a 90-minute movie.
right.
You know, and so when folks say I don't even know where the story is going or what the point is, or it's too slow, wait for it to be all done. Watch all of it and then make that decision of whether you want to talk about the pacing or where the story was going, because then you have the ability to see it in its entirety and understand what happened in episode 2, how it connects to episode 18, which then leaps into episode 24.
Right. Well, and the other thing I wonder is, and I'm guilty of this too, I wonder if how people are watching it. Like there are certain shows, my wife and I, we have you get in the evening, you want to watch some shows, and there's certain shows like I'm trying to think of one, like 911. You ever watch any of those shows? Like there's like a
No.
firehouse, whatever. But that's one I'll put on when I'm cooking, because you don't have to pay attention. It's literally, if you jump in at any time, you're caught up in like 2 seconds. Where I think Andor falls in those ones where you can't be on your phone. You have to commit to paying attention for however long the episode is, because there is so much to watch.
Yeah, and the dialogue, I think, one thing I will say that, and one of the several things that makes Andor different than the other stuff, the dialogue is so rich.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
The writing of this is slightly different than the writing of the cartoons or even George's original works in the prequel trilogy and the original trilogy. So there's so much in it, and if you're not fully paying attention, you're going to miss bits and pieces of it. You're going to miss nuggets of it that's caught in the dialogue.
Well, just the title of the last episode, was it The Axe Remembers, or no, The Axe Forgets, the
Axe Forgets.
Tree Remembers? You could have a 20-minute discussion just on that. Like that was a cool title. So I mean, I just hope everyone gives it a chance. I still think the numbers of all these Disney shows are way better than what people think they are, because I think the people hating on them just are louder.
Yeah, I think that's possible.
I mean, because the circle I run in, and well, people also know that it's going to have to. I don't know the first Star Wars thing I dislike, but when it happens, it's going to have to be pretty bad, because I love Star Wars enough that I can find the Star Warsiness in anything.
Yeah, you bet. Even when Jar Jar Binks stepped in Eopie poop,
yeah,
that was still Star Wars. And then now we've got them saying bastards and shit in Andor.
Yeah. Which was, I mean, there was a big stink about that, and I'm like, really? Do you know what else is on television? Like, you're worried about that?
Well, some of our politicians have said worse on the microphones. So.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, I sometimes wish, and maybe I'm being too harsh, but maybe that's how people deal with things in life. But I wish people would get as angry about real world things, like, maybe take a little interest in politics or even local, like school boards or anything. Take some of that hatred and power they put into hating something fake and put it into, like, change some things around you.
Yeah.
Or at least go mow your lawn or something. So, yeah, I don't know. But
and I don't think everyone has to like everything. However, I think I think it would be nice if folks just would be more open.
Yeah.
And I don't even that goes beyond just the Star Wars stuff. Be open to what you're witnessing. Be open to what's being presented. Be open to what's there, and see what you can glean from it. See what nuggets you can take away from it. Because at the very least, you're going to walk away learning something.
Right. Now, so your podcast you recorded last night, if you had 4 of your 5, so there's 4 of you there?
Yep.
So over a scale of 1 to 4, how many people like Andor?
All 4 of us.
Okay, good. I assumed just from listening to your show, I assumed that everyone would be pretty much pro Andor, because even when you've had those heated discussions and stuff like that, it seems like it was always more of just it wasn't just like a blanket hatred. And then I realized, like, if it is also proof in your show that everyone was paying attention, and just because they didn't like something, it wasn't because they were half-assing it or not paying attention. So I think Andor is one of those shows for everyone that's paying attention.
Yeah, and with the Rad Batch, one of the things I appreciate about them is, even with the bits that they don't like, they still are coming back to the trough. They're still Star Wars fans. They're still enjoying it. They're still talking about it. So if they're on Disney Plus, they might not watch that one thing they don't like. They'll go to the other 4 things that are available.
It's not like you guys are doing. If it's not like they're doing an episode just on what they hate. Yeah. Like, okay, we're not going to do Andor because we all like it. Let's do Ewok. We're just going to do the Ewok movies, and we're going to do a deep dive of why we hate every single thing from the Ewok movie, or whatever it is. It'd be like it. Like for me, there's some of the DC superhero movies I really don't like. But if I started doing a podcast about them, then that just seems odd to me. For me to waste my time, effort, everything.
Well, and the other piece to it, and this might be just a personal thing. Do we really need to be that disrespectful? I mean, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of people that put in time, even whether you're talking about a DC movie or a Star Wars movie or a Star Wars show like Andor. There are hundreds, if not 1,000 or so people that worked on it.
Yep.
And thought they were doing a good job. Yep. At least give them the credit and respect due to someone who put in the effort.
Well, and if you figure what you're paying, what you and I dollar spent to watch Andor, I don't even know what my subscription for Disney Plus is, because I bought I think mine runs out next month. I bought it like a 3-year plan, but I think it was like $3 a month or something. Like it was like crazy low. So even with tax, I'm paying $1 a show for Andor. What can you buy for $1? You know what I mean? Like,
can't even get a kid-sized burger anymore for $1.
Right. So, but the music hasn't stood out to me. I mean, good or bad. Like, it's not like The Mandalorian. Like, I got that Mandalorian music stuck in my head, like when that first came, and and I guess Book of Boba Fett's music didn't really stick in my head like The Mandalorian did either. But the music isn't bad, so I don't notice the music, so that's fine.
Well, have you noticed that it's different at the beginning of each episode? Have you noticed that at least that much?
I haven't, and that's what I probably have to listen again. Like I'm just so used to Star Wars having the themes, like New Hope. I think I have New Hope's music almost memorized. Like if you play the Jawas, I'm like, yeah, that's the Jawa song,
Well, the other piece to remember with that is you have 40 plus years of it.
Yeah, that's true too.
So with Andor, you have 5 weeks of it?
Yeah.
Now?
Well, I've only bought a handful of CDs in my life, and 2 of them, one is the Revenge of the Sith soundtrack, because remember when they released it, they released a special soundtrack with the video. Remember they went around the country with the video. I think it was Ian McDermott hosted it. And they would play video clips, and they would play all these musical suites of John Williams. Well, it came with a DVD/CD when you bought the CD when it came out.
Oh, I didn't get that.
It's almost like just a bunch of music videos of just, So I played that a lot. But yeah, I got to listen more to the music. It's weird because this is the first Star Wars show I've watched without Zoe. So, like Safi and I's thing is Marvel stuff, more Marvel. And when it comes to watching and stuff, like Safi likes being 000, but when it comes to and she likes movies, but she's not as much into watching the shows. Like she'd rather just wait till they're all out and then just binge them all. That's more how Safi does it. So I haven't seen that with this one with Zoe, but
which to me that's kind of interesting that folks have so quickly been trained to do that, to binge, even to the point where that word is now used no longer in connection to just food.
right.
It's connected to entertainment. So I'm going to log on to my streaming service and binge Falcon Crest or whatever.
Yeah, see,
Whereas before you had to watch everything when it came out, and if you back when we were young, if you missed it, you may not see it.
You had to get your TV guide out and keep an eye open.
Yeah. When might it get replayed again?
Though I think when you and I were younger, there was very few sequential TV shows. You know what I mean? Like if you were watching the A-Team, it pretty much ended how it began.
Yep. And the next episode will be a different 30-minute story.
Yeah. So I mean,
and that's another difference between this television show and many other ones. This is, we're talking 24 episodes that are going to be connected like that.
Yeah.
And it's different than even Star Wars cartoons like Clone Wars and so on, which was like an anthology series where there might be 3 of the episodes that connect, and then they might show a random one here, and then that some people would call filler, and then they would do 4 more episodes that were of a different story arc.
Right.
Whereas it's 24 episodes that are meant to bring it from when Andor was a child all the way up to the doorstep of Rogue One.
Yeah. I'm curious, because I sat in on his panel. And someone asked him about 3 seasons or something, and all his only answer was, "Look, if they'll give us a 3rd one, we'll make it work," or something like that. So I don't know. I think I like the idea when they have shows and they have a complete run planned out. Because we've all had that certain show that we liked, or something that got cut short, or even worse, sometimes is it went longer than they were planning, and they didn't kind of keep up. You know what I mean? Like there's certain shows like, they probably shouldn't have done that last season. So I'm happy. It just seems like they have such a clear vision of what they're doing. The ships and the blasters, the Andor pistol is pretty cool.
Do you think the blasters sound different?
They do. Now if someone forced me to make a complaint, the sound of the E11s bothered me in this episode. Because that, so in the dark days, we had almost no Star Wars. When Dark Forces came out, the first-person shooter Star Wars game, the graphics were terrible, and the gameplay wasn't the greatest. But the sound of those blasters is what hooked me in. Like that, I don't know. It's because they got the TIE fighter down, So I mean, I'm just going to attribute to the blasters some of them look slightly different than E11s. So maybe like the ground troops get like the E11 light or something, maybe that's it. But they did sound different.
Yeah, that's one thing that I was surprised I noticed, and then once I heard it, I couldn't unhear it.
Yeah, that. Well, the first couple episodes it didn't bother me because they were shooting blasters I'd never seen, so I was fine with that, But then the E11, it's just like the TIE fighter had good sound. If they would have had the TIE fighter like fly with a different sound, I would have been like, what? And how about those TIE pilots, man? That was beautiful. Watching them get into TIE fighters and stuff.
Yep.
So
they are definitely not skimping on the production of that show.
No.
And it's just it all looks so good.
Yeah. Oh, and like I said, the listening to that whole story about how they're basically just going to tell the people, hey, guess what? You can't come up to your holy ground anymore. Like that to me that's just good writing, because we know the whole history of that planet's sacred whatever, without them saying this. It was just a side conversation. Like that to me is like that's how George Lucas did it, in the sense that he would give you extremely important facts in a matter-of-fact way, where
Yep.
you didn't have this big, like someone saying, well, back in my day when blah blah, and you had a big 20-minute monologue that you got bored listening to. Just inside conversations, the amount of stuff we've learned,
Yeah, the stuff we've learned about peoples, or
Yeah.
even individual people.
Yeah.
And the other part, and I think I've mentioned it with you and John before. Every episode, I hear Saw Gerrera lies every day, more lies.
Oh yeah, yeah.
There
I
is,
can't wait till Saul shows up. Oh man, that's
there is just so much deception. There's so much phoniness and fakery that it's really hard to figure out who's really on the up and up, and on
oh
whose
yeah,
side, and all of that kind of stuff. So the idea of nobility and morality is really murky,
yeah.
really. And I mean, I guess that's like the real world.
Well, and they showed with Mom Mothra, her family, right? And I was listening to Sal's podcast, and I guess in a book that it was an arranged marriage. Her and her husband was some kind of arranged
Oh,
marriage.
see, I didn't know
It was
that.
explained in some kind of book or something like that. But we always think of sacrifices of people, and it's partially sexist in the way that we talk about it. Like you'll say to a man, well, he sacrificed his whole life for his career and this and that seems to be fine. Like, and in movies you'll have this dad who is like doing everything, and his kids still love him, and he gets it all. And this was showing a more realistic, where she might not have been making the sacrifices of getting shot at, or making the sacrifices of not eating or something like that, but she basically, for her cause and her job, sacrificed her family, because for whatever reason her husband wasn't backing her up.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit about Mon and her husband. I can't even remember his name yet. And one of the things that I mentioned on our show was that the people in Star Wars don't know what comes next.
Right.
And they don't necessarily know all of the other stuff that's going on. So we have this, because I've heard people talk about how they don't like, Mon Mothma's husband.
Right.
But we don't know what he knows. We don't know what got him to this place. We don't, and it also shows the different layers and complexity of human experience. So this guy, from what it seems, lives a pretty well off life.
Right.
A fancy apartment in a powerful town, beautiful, and has access to all sorts of stuff, and still seems to struggle to maintain a family relationship, a strong, supportive, fair and balanced relationship between.
To me, it seemed to me like he didn't respect what she did in a subtle way.
Well, and with that, I don't think he knows all that she's doing.
Right. But I'm saying, like, that's what I mean. I mean, when I say respect, it means like, I don't think he knows she's a big rebel, whatever. But I think he doesn't believe in her cause, in the sense that he thinks, like, there's some people that think no matter what your job is, some people think you don't really work. You know what I mean? You can always, if you're a welder, then you see some guy doing this and you're like, well, I work harder, or vice versa. There's always that. And then there's those people that almost have contempt because they think someone's not working, doing anything, even though they're probably not doing anything either. It seems like it's almost like a subtle contempt. Like she's worried that he's inviting the political enemies. To him, it's just fun and games, because he doesn't care. Like, if you stand for nothing, then nothing's important.
Yeah. And we also we know she works. We know she's a senator, but we don't know what he does.
Yeah, he doesn't look like he's overly busy.
Is it possible that he's, a child of a very rich family, and he doesn't have to work?
Well,
Because
again,
there
just
are
listening
people
to,
like that too.
yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. If it was an arranged marriage, usually arranged marriage, somebody had in a made up one, there has to be something sinister to it. It's not like a real arranged marriage, So it's funny. I listened to Zoe and Lizzie's. They did a 2-hour one on the last episode, and their take on the crazy-eyed guy's mom. I said to Zoe, I said, I hope Lizzie's mom gets a disclaimer before, because Lizzie was really ripping into that mom. I was like, that could come across quite wrong if someone's mother heard him say that.
Yeah.
So,
that relationship is also another very
Yeah.
interesting one.
Well, and honestly, I hated that guy until I saw that, and then I almost felt sorry for him.
Well, see, that's for me. I didn't hate him. I was more curious about, like, so what are you hoping to achieve? Like, what are you striving for? And do you notice the effects of your striving?
Yeah.
So you've got these nice corporate security clothes, and you're using that power against people who walk on muddy streets, and break down equipment for your corporate company or whatever, which
Yeah.
that money or whatever ultimately goes up to the empire. So what are you hoping to achieve from all of this?
Yeah. Yeah, I think my dislike for him is more rooted in the real world than the show. Like, if I objectively look at him now, I'd be like, yeah, I don't hate him that much. But I think he reminded me of the historical Pinkertons that were used to just like break people's heads at strikes, or you know what I mean, like that kind of stuff. And he kind of reminded me of like a corporate shill in that regard.
Well, I mean, in truth, that's what he is, really.
Yeah.
I mean, he's working for that business, that subcontractor of the empire, and his
Not
job
anymore.
is to, yeah, because he got fired.
Well, he got them all fired because he got rid of all of them.
Well, he got them all fired, and his decision ultimately led to the deaths of some of them.
Yeah, yeah.
Not all those guys made it back from that mission.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I tell you, it is the bigger picture in all of Andor is too. The Empire isn't conquering any of these people. Like, the Empire is coming in and saving the day for that planet. Like, they're like, remember when those corporate guys came around and shot up your town?
Well, I think that's what the Empire wants them to
Right.
believe.
No, that's what I mean.
But,
That's the perception is
yeah, and see, that to me is some more of the evilness of Sheev Palpatine.
yeah, yeah.
And I know we've kind of talked about it, a little bit in other episodes, that the power of Sheev isn't just the ability to move rocks and read people's minds. It's to encourage others to do things, manipulate them to do things that benefit themselves and ultimately him.
Right. Well, yeah. Look what he got Padme to do. Look what he got Jar Jar to do. Yeah, and I think that like that's just a neat footnote in the show, in the sense that, because it also comes down to, if you're the working class person, the amount of money and work and what you have to put into your life, it limits what you can do. Like when Jin says, when, as long as you don't look up, looking at the flags, some people don't have the opportunity to look up in life. Like, if you're working as a scrapper, tearing scrap off just to get when do you have time? Like, and that's what I think another, it's showing this oppression overall. And then that guy talked about it, where they set up all the bars along the path, for that pilgrimage, just give them a little trinkets. And
yeah, and once again, those things, even though they're fantasy in this show, those same kind of things did happen.
yeah,
And in some cases still happen.
yeah, yep. I will say that spectacular meteor show thing was pretty cool.
That was gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous.
And that ship that they were flying, that was kind of a weird ship too. E-girls here, hey. that ship they were flying was pretty wild.
Yeah, I couldn't truly figure out the. I think that might be the first time we've ever seen that model of a ship, right?
Yeah, you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of some of those bus-like ships that were on Coruscant, but like a workhorse one. Remember the bus thing,
like a Mack truck kind of thing.
Well, yeah. You know what I was thinking before we saw the episode? I was thinking it was going to be one of those haulers from Solo.
Okay.
That's what I was thinking, because when they were talking about loads and all that kind of stuff, and Andor was in the military at the Battle of whatever, where
Mimban.
Solo was, Mimban. So I was thinking, well, that would have been a good, because I was picturing one of those haulers when they were saying it. So that was kind of neat to see a new ship. Again, I still love the TIE pilots hanging on the racks. That was cool.
And going back to the ship that they were in, I'm wondering how much of that was constructed.
Yeah.
How much of that was actually built that they got to play in and shoot those scenes in, or that vault and all of those credits.
Oh, yeah.
Get me into that prop room so I can.
I tell you, I wasn't really happy with their plan, because it seemed like they had a plan, but then I think they forgot how much effort it was going to take to load all that stuff in.
Well, I think they see that's one of the, in the show, it's one of the differences between, and in real life, between what you intend to do and what really happens.
Oh yeah.
Because those the folks coming into the room, they didn't plan for that.
Right.
They didn't necessarily calculate how much effort it would take for those other people to move the credits into the and how long it would take and things like that, because they didn't get away with all of that money.
Right. No.
They only got away with a portion of that money.
Yeah, they should have brought a Wookiee. That was good. I mean, it was neat to see. It was neat to see that ship. It would, I am curious what stuff they built, but then that's one of those things they could have literally just, like, you watch some of those prop guys, man, they'll just repurpose a bus, they just tear the inside out, and so that's pretty neat.
I wonder if this episode is gonna get hate because it's another heist. Another heist in Star Wars.
Yeah. But wouldn't like, if you're fighting the Empire, like, if you look, some of the best movies are heist movies. Some of the best TV shows are basically just heist movies every week. Like, people wax poetic about, like, the A-Team and Dukes of Hazzard and all those shows. Every episode was just a heist. It's what it was. It was just a plan that they had to do.
Well, Hannibal loved it when a plan came together.
Yeah. But don't you think they're in the stage of the Empire where pretty much everything has to be a heist? Because you can't have a face-to-face battle.
It has to be a heist, and because you don't have the organizational structure or the resources to just go out and buy 100 X-wings or
right.
whatever. So it definitely there has to be that under the radar, sketchy backroom dealing kind of stuff.
Well, that's the plus side to it being done now. If these shows would have been done like in 85, right? If Disney Plus would have popped in 1985, right after Return of the Jedi, it would have been the bad guys and the good guys, and it would have been like when you got your army men when you were a kid, and you had the green ones and the gray ones, or the green ones and whatever. That's what it would have been. It would have been, oh, look, here's the TIE fighters coming out. Okay, the X-Wings are, you know what I mean? It would have, because it didn't have time to grow and people think about it,
And that's one thing too with Andor, I think that's different than The Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett. I think they've had much more time to develop the story and to develop the stuff than have the other shows have necessarily been not allowed to have, but have taken advantage of.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm not saying that Mando and Boba Fett or even Obi-Wan Kenobi, I'm not saying that they were rushed. Right. I'm just saying that I'm thinking that they didn't have as much time as Andor did.
Well, and it's a different kind of storytelling, because Andor, I remember them talking about Andor at Chicago Celebration, and it was teased before that. So that's been a long time.
Yep.
I was laughing when they were gagging all the prisoners. I was like, wow, did they film this scene during COVID and they need an excuse to put masks on people? You know, because that's the only thing we're gonna see in the next couple, like 10 years from now. You'll be able to see every episode of whatever was filmed during COVID, because it's either TV shows where no one's on screen at the same time, or for some reason they all have some kind of masks on. So,
And speaking of masks, that kind of gets so. I often listen to podcasts on my way to work.
all right,
And
here,
today
wait a minute, I'm gonna turn the podcast on. We're gonna do podcast talk.
So normally I listen to podcasts on the way to work, and I was going to listen to Blue Harvest today, and I ended up deciding not to and just rode to work with my thoughts. And one of the things that stuck out to me, especially after watching this episode of Andor, the 6th episode, there are so many instances in the Star Wars shows where the characters have to dress up like somebody else.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
And that's from the beginning. And I actually made a list. I made a list of all the different properties or all the different series. I don't know if you can see it or whatever, but yeah.
Okay,
so
give us your breakdown.
So, well, let's start with A New Hope. Who were some of the characters that dressed up like other people in A New Hope?
Well, the stormtroopers, Han and Luke.
Yep, Han and Luke dressed like stormtroopers, and even though Chewie wasn't in a costume, he was playing the role of a prisoner, so he had the binders on.
Yeah.
So that was in the very first movie. There was that. You could even say,
well, the droids pretended to be friendly droids when the stormtroopers broke in the closet.
Yeah, they pretended to be Imperial droids.
Yep. Here, I'm gonna put. We have cosplay in Star Wars.
Awesome. And Princess Leia, even though she didn't necessarily wear other costumes, she claimed to be on a diplomatic mission as an ambassador. Yet she was really working at that moment, as a full member of the Rebel Alliance. And that was the first movie, 1977.
Yep.
There was people dressing up like other people.
Yep.
And how about Empire Strikes Back? Who can you think of that?
Lando.
Pretended to be a friend.
Yep.
And you could even say Yoda to a certain degree, pretending to be, this wacky green creature on Dagobah when he was really the most powerful Jedi there was.
Right. Yeah, Empire. So what else we got?
Well, you've got Leia as Bausch.
Yeah. Oh, Jedi Leia as Bausch. Yeah.
Once again, Chewbacca as a prisoner.
Chewbacca as a prisoner. Lando as a skiff guard.
Yep, Lando as a skiff guard.
3PO and R2 3PO wasn't a surprise, unwilling captive, but R2 was not.
Yeah, he had the bar set.
Yeah,
attached to him. And then we could go a little bit further in that movie. Chewbacca and the Ewoks stole an AT-ST,
right,
and pretended to be stormtroopers in that.
All of them in the shuttle crossing. Remember when?
Yep, they were pretending to be even using an older Imperial code.
Right, and didn't Han put a helmet on or something for the camera?
He put a helmet on in the camera. Yep, and that was when he was on Endor trying to get into the bunker.
Yeah.
So the first 3 movies,
Well, and the Emperor was pretending not to have as much work done.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, that's more deception.
Yeah, I mean that's not absolutely a costume, but that's a. Yeah. Okay, and then we have.
So we'll go from Return of the Jedi. I didn't think
Shadow of the Empire.
Okay.
Because Chewie was dressed up as a bounty hunter.
And was Leia a bounty hunter?
Leia was Bosch still,
again,
but Chewie was that goofy, flat top looking. I forget
with the eye patch.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I thought was she Princess Leia when she was meeting with Prince Zizor, or
I can't remember that.
Or did she have a different identity?
I can't remember that. But yeah, so that's another costume.
And I didn't think about this from the Ewoks cartoon or the Droids cartoon or even the Ewoks movie, so we won't talk about those
Right.
ones. I feel like a fake fan for saying that, but
That's all right.
how about a Phantom Menace?
Well, Qui-Gon, and they didn't really say who they were, but they were, when they were on Tatooine, they weren't like saying they were Jedi.
Yep. Even before they got to Tatooine, you had Padme and the Handmaidens.
Oh, right, yeah. Well, Padme in general is just. Have you read the Padme books?
No, not yet.
You got, if you read those books, it makes Phantom Menace even better. Just worth it.
Yeah, there's what, 3 of those? Is that what it is?
There's 3 of them, but they're really good. I mean, it gives me a so much deeper appreciation and understanding of parts of the movie that I didn't really give a crap about, because the book's not really written for me, I don't think, but they're good.
And see, that's one of the things I just love about Star Wars and the makers involved. So if you want to go deeper, there are, whether it's a comic book writer or a novel writer, there's so much more beyond just the film. If you want to, and you don't, I don't think you necessarily have to,
Right.
but I think it enhances the characters that you see on screen, and it also gives you just more Star Wars.
Right. Yeah, I'm trying to think. So, was there any other deceptive? Well, Palpatine at the
Sheev,
end,
of course,
when he was
yeah.
like, "Well, I will watch you," or whatever, and then that guy that was trying to be Mace Windu, the fake Mace Windu at the end,
the bootleg Mace Windu.
yeah, the Mace Windu from Wish. I ordered Mace Windu on Wish. The fake.
And so he was playing the role of Senator and also Darth Sidious, and no one knew at the time. So then we'll jump to Attack of the Clones.
Well, Padme, when they were travelers, Padme and Anakin were travelers.
Yep. Well, and early on at the very beginning of the episode, Padme once again was dressed as a pilot.
Oh, right, right. Yeah,
wasn't that when her ship was attacked?
Yep. Yeah. Again, you have to read those, especially the first 2, but the first one really explains a lot of those handmaids. That's a good book. And again, it was not written for some 50-year-old guy. I'm pretty sure, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. And you still got Senator Palpatine.
Yep, Senator Palpatine.
Zam Wessel.
Oh yeah, Zam was a shapeshifter.
Yeah, changeling. And then I put this one down. I'm not sure if it fits in the bill, but Count Dooku. So he's playing the role of separatist and also being a Sith apprentice.
Or Sith apprentice, yeah. Because especially when he was talking to Obi-Wan. Oh yeah.
Yeah, because he was, at that point, he was just playing that role of I'm a separatist, I stepped away from the Jedi Council, and Master
Cypher Dyas?
Qui-Gon would have agreed with me if he were still here today, kind of thing. And you could even say that he and Sifo Dyas were playing a role when they went and purchased the clone army.
Yeah.
Where they were involved in those shenanigans.
Yeah.
And then for Revenge of the Sith, you've got Sheev again, and Anakin. He walked into the Jedi Temple with the clone troopers, and everyone in the Jedi Temple thought that Anakin was going to save them. Little did they know that he was going to help wipe them out.
Yep.
So this one will be a little bit more challenging, but I still think there are some that you may be able to add to, and that's the Clone Wars cartoon, not the Genndy Tartakovsky one, but the Dave Filoni ones. What are some cosplay from that series?
Well, when they went to the slavers, Ahsoka was dressed as a slave, and was Anakin the slave owner?
Yep, because he actually he got flirted with by the queen, right?
Yeah. And then you had Obi-Wan as a Mandalorian.
Do you remember? He definitely wore the Mandalorian armor. He also played a bounty hunter at one point.
Oh yeah, I don't remember that.
when they did the face swap.
Oh
What he played as Reiko Hardin,
yeah,
and I think Anakin and Obi-Wan weren't they frozen in carbonite in the Clone Wars?
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. So they played ice cubes.
And Jar Jar Binks played a Jedi in one
Yeah.
episode.
That was a good Jar Jar. You had what's his name ride inside a droid. Um,
Oh, the little guy.
yeah, the little general. What was his
Yeah.
name? Um, Gascon. Was that Gascon?
I think it was General G something.
Yeah. And you had now he played it due to head injury, but um, the guy that was the working at the diner in that
Dexter.
episode. No, in Into the Void.
Gregor.
Gregor, yeah. You had Goldie. Goldie was playing a friendly astromech droid.
That's the one that had the X on its head, right? Or is that a
No, no,
different?
the 3PO or the R2 unit that was it was black and yellow, and it replaced R2 and R2 was lost.
Oh yeah, okay.
That was an early on one. I just remember those because this is aside from this. That's when you would watch the episodes and you go to Target and they had all the figures from those episodes, and the girls would go nuts, man. It was like, I was buying.
$112 later.
Oh yeah, I was buying. Well, they used to run sales at Target like buy 4 get 2 free or something like that. So it's like, oh well, I have to get 12. It's like leaving money at the store. Yes, you need this clone. But they would have. That's back when there would be a clone like 2 seconds in the show, and they'd be like, "Oh, here's a figure."
Well, I remember that even TJ Maxx and Marshalls would get in on it too, because sometimes you could find the toys there. There was that one episode where the clones went underground and there were zombie worms. They had a set of the clones, and it came with a DVD that had parts of the episode and those zombie worms.
Yeah, or they would come with the big worm, the big lizard where they got the blue paint on his armor, the blood of that. They have that set. They had the little flying animals that were on that temple in the movie. Like they were just like, it's amazing how many toys they turned out then. Like it was so nice because the kids wanted it. Oh yeah, let's go to the store.
And there was not only just the toys, but there was the play sets, where the vehicle transformed into something, whether it was one of the spaceships or whatever. I don't know why that thought has ended.
I think, well, that's a whole nother segment, but I think toys at some certain point, and you could probably almost mark it when the Black Series started coming out, when it started to become not affordable for a kid to just play with it.
Yeah, but when they became collectibles.
Yeah, and that's what happened with the old line. You don't see as many of the big ones around because most of us couldn't afford them. I mean, the size had something to do with it, but it did become, you got more bang for your buck. Look, I have $10, I can get 5 little figures or a half a Darth Vader, So, but yeah, so was that the Clone Wars? I'm trying to think what else.
Well, you had Ahsoka and the young Jedis. They played circus performers.
Yep.
You had Asajj Ventress and Barriss Offee. Barriss Offee actually dressed up as Asajj Ventress.
Yeah. Well, and then you had was that Barriss that wound up being evil too?
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. So she was dressing as an apprentice for the longest time.
Yeah, she part of that dressing up was to convince folks that Ahsoka was the one that was involved in the bombing of the Jedi Temple.
I want to say Padme dressed up as some other things, but I can't really remember.
Yeah, and that's for me the hard part. There was 7 seasons of the Clone Wars, so there were so many little bits and pieces in there where they had they did play dress up, for lack of better words.
Yeah.
And I'm not even counting like costume changes. I mean,
Right.
Padme, even in the Phantom Menace, I think Padme had more costume changes in the Phantom Menace than Carrie Fisher had in all 3 movies.
Yeah. And again, if you read those, another plug for that book, if you read that book, those costume changes make so much sense. Like, because they were cool, but I'm like, as a guy, I'm like, really? Because I'm used to, like, in all of the other Star Wars, like Han Solo just had like one outfit. Like, if you went in his Han Solo closet, there was like 10 vests. And then when he decided to go to a jacket, I'm sure he just got rid of all the vests, So he probably found something like, well, I'm just going to get 10 of them,
How about in Rebels?
Oh God, Sabine, the whole crew of the Ghost chain went in as like they went in as like just peasants one time, biker
Kanan dressed
scouts,
as a stormtrooper, biker scouts.
stormtrooper.
Ezra played a cadet. I think Ahsoka
Yep.
played as a cadet as well. That's when they stole the TIE fighter.
Sabine.
That's right.
Sabine went as a pilot. She was in with the Matt Martin and all those guys. Matt, the guy, they named him after the but those pilots. Yeah, and then what? Well, Ezra pretended to be Jabba the Hutt.
Oh, by name, yeah.
By name.
I thought didn't he also no? It was he said he was Jabba too. Was it he said it, or did he say he was
said
Lando?
It twice. I think he said it to the crew one time when they were trying to find out who he was.
I know he said it to Hondo a couple times.
Yeah. And then Darth Maul played a whatever,
like an old guy, a peasant kind
of question about Darth Maul, unrelated to any of this. But didn't the Witches of Dathomir give him his legs back?
Yes.
So he doesn't
Mother
have,
Telson.
but he doesn't have metal legs. Because I couldn't remember if she just reformed them into human form or she made him new legs.
I thought she gave him robot legs.
Okay, I see. I couldn't
from the spider legs.
I thought it was like some kind of magic where he got like just normal, good old fashioned legs.
No, I thought she converted the metal spider legs that he made from the junk into metal robot legs for him.
Yeah, I just couldn't remember. I still wonder if his bottom half, out of hatred, there's legs running around with a metal top of Darth Maul somewhere. So it's like a metal top of a spider with human legs running around.
Or it could be a different animal. It could be the neck and head of a giraffe.
That'll be the new sequel.
Yeah.
Darth Maul, the other half. So let me see what else from Rebels.
Callus.
Agent Callus. Princess Leia was in there. Remember when they dropped off the Hammerhead Corvettes?
Yep.
So she was acting.
Was she in the same episode, or it was a different episode when they gave her Y wings? I thought.
Yeah, I couldn't remember. Yeah, I don't know. Was she in that episode?
I remember the Hammerhead Corvettes one definitely, but I thought she was involved with the Y.
Yeah, maybe. Chopper he got painted a couple times as an Imperial droid. And Hera was a servant girl when Thrawn caught her the one time, remember?
Oh yeah, she even put on her French accent, her French Ryloth accent.
Yeah. It's funny the little things that were done as a throwaway that get picked up. Like when they were probably just like, okay, give them any kind of accent, and then they're like, now all of the highfalutin Twi'leks speak in French accents. So that's pretty funny. Yeah, I think that's pretty much.
Those are the ones I remember, the big ones that stand out.
Yeah.
How about the Force Awakens?
Force Awakens. Well, when they when they helped Finn get out, where Finn helped Poe get out.
Yep. Well,
That was-
and later on, when Finn was wearing Poe's jacket, he played the
that's
the
right. He
role
spent half
of
the movie pretending he was a
a resistance fighter.
yeah.
And then this isn't a costume so much, but it is deceptive. You could say Snoke.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that he gave him the name Snoke when we learned to find out that he was actually a clone of the Emperor.
Yeah. Yep. Snoke.
So that gets us to the Last Jedi.
Last Jedi. Well, they pretended to be. Well, you had the guy, at Canto Bite, the guy DJ, but you had the guy they were actually looking for too.
Oh,
they never
the
found.
Master Codebreaker?
Yeah, the Master Codebreaker that they never found.
Yeah. And then later on, they dressed as Imperials when they snuck onto Snoke's ship.
Right.
Even BB-8 got in the action. He wore a hamper.
Yeah, that was funny. Yeah. I do miss a good BB-8 droid. I just remember the excitement when we first saw him roll across the screen. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, at this point, I think the only way they could up the game is if they had a live-action BD-1 or something like that, a two-legged droid.
Yeah. Someone's probably got one working right now. Try it. So then the what was the last?
Rise of Skywalker.
Rise of Skywalker would be.
Rey, Finn, Poe, and C-3PO when they were on Kijimi.
Oh, right. Yes.
They were wearing those big parkas and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I can't remember, did they dress up when they were on Pisana? When they went to the that big, it looked like a Woodstock kind of party.
I don't think they were dressed up. I don't think they were dressed up then.
Lando was. Lando had that funky helmet
that's true.
on.
Lando was.
And even though he wasn't dressed up deceptively, we came to learn that Hux was a spy.
Yeah. Hux. I forgot all about that part.
I'm the spy. I knew it. No, you didn't. So how about Solo?
Well, Solo when they went to Kessel.
Yep. So that would have been. It was Han, Lando, Kira, L3,
and Chewie.
Chewie's
always again prisoner. Just a
he's got handcuffs. That's his costume.
And then, when Solo was on Mimban, you had Beckett and his crew.
Yeah,
all
Beckett,
dressed as
Rio and Val.
Yeah.
And would you say that Enfys Nest and the Cloud Riders were in costumes? Because we didn't know. I didn't know that Enfys Nest was a young girl.
Yeah. No, that was definitely that was a costume.
And she's actually from what I understood of the story, that costume at one point belonged to her mother.
Yeah. It reminded me of Dread Pirate Roberts from where it just gets passed along. Or the Red Hood. I think there was a comic book called The Red Hood or something like that, where it was just like a superhero, and then eventually just got if he got killed, it just got passed on to the next person.
Oh, like Black Panther.
Yeah, similar. You
could earn that.
Yeah, well, and then so I think that was pretty much that's pretty much it. Other than then they had that old lady dress as Enfys Nest to trick.
Oh yeah, to
trick the what's his face. That's a good movie.
Dryden Voss and his henchman, Dryden Voss's henchman.
Yeah. And then and then what's the next movie? The
Rogue One.
Well, when they landed on Scarif, Jin had to wear the flight crew costume.
Yep. And Cassian had the officer.
And
K2 had to play the part of an Imperial droid.
Yeah, K2.
And how about the partisans? Would you say that they're in costumes? Like there's that,
Oh yeah,
that one
yeah,
biker
sure.
scout that
Yeah,
has the black helmet and
yeah.
stuff like that.
That's what that's the partisans are that way.
Galen Urso, you could say, was
Galen
playing a
Erso.
role. He was
Yeah.
when he was dressed as the Imperial scientist.
We could say Galen would be a scientist. Yeah, he also played a widower, but his wife showed up, remember?
Oh look, Lyra, back from the dead.
Oh man.
Lies. Every day more
Oh
lies.
yeah. Saul. But I don't want to shame his costume because that also has helped keeping him alive too. I wonder if we'll see Saul healthy and somehow get messed up that he has to wear that.
I think there's definitely a possibility of that.
Because Saul can't really meet.
Span 5 years.
But Saul can't meet Andor.
Yeah, but he can meet other. We know he's going to meet Luthen.
Right, but he can't meet Andor because that's all. What's his name wanted was a meeting with him with Jin.
Yeah, in Rogue One, and Andor didn't seem to have the inside scoop to Saw.
Right. So but yeah, because I remember reading somewhere about his ailment or something. It was some kind of space worm or space disease or something like that, or something.
Saws?
Yeah. I don't know. I remember reading somewhere in one of those. I don't know if it was fan fiction, but I remember reading something about people were speculating what he had, if it was like something from the Empire or whatever. But I'm just curious. I'd be curious to see. But now they mentioned it in the last show, 12 years. So they possessed that planet that they were on. So that means it's somewhere in the timeline. If they took over that planet soon after the Empire was formed, you're talking 12 to 14 years since the Clone Wars was over, would be my guess. Until that timeline book comes out, and then we can know everything.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and it also makes me wonder if they're going to mention when Saw was involved in the genocide of the bugs from
Geonosis.
Geonosis, yeah.
That would be really good, because I often think these shows, at a certain point when you make a show like that, you have to assume a large percentage of your audience has not done all the peripheral material. You know what I mean? Like, so you want to have some stuff, and that would be something that they could, hey, I remember that from Attack of the Clones. I remember those people, and the rest of us would be like, oh, I remember the genocide of this that was referred to in Rebels. So it's pretty neat. So that's a lot of costuming.
And we're not done. We still got the live action TV shows.
Oh yeah. Well, let's see. Every Mandalorian is a costumer.
Yep. Even Mando had 2 costumes because he played that driver of the Juggernaut.
Yes. Well, and what's his name played Ward too?
Bill Burr.
What's his character's name? I always forget his character.
I don't even remember. I just thought it was funny that they said he's from like Space Boston
or
something. Like that's where his accent's from.
I tell you, he is one of the. I know I've said this before, but he's one of the most likable people that I thought I wouldn't like on the show. Like when I saw he was on the show, I thought it was going to, like certain people I thought was going to take me out of it. And at first I didn't kind of like him, but then when they brought him back, it made me like his character and him more.
Well, see, like, do you think you'd have liked him as much if he was just somebody else in that role?
No, I'm saying I think because of him in the role, like I didn't really know who he was. I knew he was a stand-up comedian. I'd never heard of anything else. I hadn't even heard his act because it just, and so I didn't. What was taking me out was he looked basically like he looked in real life. And I had seen his face around enough that I was like, it's like Woody Harrelson. Like when Woody Harrelson was in Star Wars, I thought it was going to take me out of it, and it didn't. It didn't, not one bit. Because he did such a great job, but I was worried it was going to. Yeah. And but yeah, I that character was good. But so they dressed up that way.
Mayfield, that's what his name is.
Mayfield, that's right.
I don't know why that just
It
sprung
popped
into my head.
But they well, I'm trying to think who else. They dressed up as in Mando. I'm trying to think season.
Yeah, I think that those are the only other costumes in that show.
Yeah.
And then you get to Book of Boba Fett, and you've got Boba Fett dressing up like a Tusken.
Yep. Well, Boba Fett, just from someone who's been trying to build his costume, God, he changed that stupid new costume so many times. I'm just like, I don't even know where to begin.
Speaking new costumes, you could say Mando did cosplay, and he's like you and I. That when you get a big amount of money, what do? You go spend it on clothes. He bought he upgraded his kit to the Beskar when he was paid for getting Baby Yoda.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And the armor is like, well, I just made you shoulder armor. Yeah. Well, you have all the Cobb Vanth.
In Boba's armor.
Yeah. You could also say the that biker gang. Though I still love that scene with the Slave One coming up behind him. Oh man. See, that's another, which I think I said on the show before. That's one of those scenes where it was written by the right person, because if that was written by the wrong person, he would have landed the Slave One in front and wanted to do a one-on-one battle with the head guy. You know what I mean? And he would have almost lost his pistol. It would have been a whole thing. And that's not what Boba Fett would have done. Boba Fett would have been like, well, look, why would I put any risk to myself? I'm just going to blow these guys off the planet.
I've got the ship. I might as well use it.
So that I just love that scene. Like that's like the best, because at first I didn't know what was going to happen, and then it was like a light bulb went off right before it happened, and I was like, oh, I know what's going to happen. Yeah, let me see.
And then there's the Obi-Wan Kenobi show.
Yeah, well, Obi-Wan just dressing as a poor space whale butcher. I don't understand that whole. And I'm glad they didn't spend a whole half of episode explaining how a space whale wrecked in the middle of the desert. You know what I mean? I'm fine. Just make that a book or a comic book or something.
It was an accident during their annual mating ritual, and they got blinded by one of the two suns. And
well, that's the difference. If the Star Trek people would have to know when it happened and how long it would take the meat to rot and what kind of salt they were using and whatnot. Where Star Wars people are like, okay, yeah, there's a giant fish in the middle of the desert. That seems fine. Yeah, and people are fine with that. But then you think about the stuff they get upset about. Like,
this show's taking too long. This show's too slow.
No, but they're like, well, I don't think she's a strong enough Jedi, but there's a giant whale that he's cutting meat out of. No one seemed to have a problem with that. Yeah. Yeah. But all the Inquisitors that's costumes. Well,
yeah, because you could say, because they originally, especially the Grand Inquisitor, he started off as a temple guard.
Yeah.
So they put on those costumes, and then when Obi-Wan went to the Inquisitorius Fortress and put on that coat and had Leia underneath it with the four legs walking out of the place. And Tala, she was playing the role of the Imperial person.
Yeah.
And what was it Haja? Was that the guy who played a fake Jedi?
Oh yeah, right. Yeah. He played a fake Jedi, and he lived, which is really surprising. That I forgot about that.
And then we won't even go into Andor, because it'd probably be easy for us to say who's not dressed in a costume of some sort or involved in some sort of a deception.
Well, we had Ajax Citizen too. In Kenobi.
Yeah, his real thing is he's a world famous podcaster
/
who
stand-up
happened to
comedian.
who happened to stroll onto the set.
Yeah.
So in everything, outside of it, I'm sure we can find examples in Ewoks and the Droids cartoon and quite possibly the Ewok movies of them wearing costumes, but every other thing has costumes, has
Yeah.
somebody dressing like somebody else.
Well, and at some point, just like you have Joseph Campbell and all that with the story keep going, there are certain tropes in movies and television, and the reason you use them a lot is not because they're lazy, it's because it works. That's what people like to see. It, like costumes and plans and missions, they build up a nice level of suspense that you can get taken care of in the time allotted a show or a movie. Like, do they want a complex D-Day invasion explained over a year and a half of, you know what I mean? like you know like it's neat, and it also, in story, in universe, they've even explained why. Andor,
Yeah.
he's talked about how they're so bloated that they're so, and you see it with the Imperials. You've seen it from Rebels and a little bit in the movies. The Imperials are so, all the Imperials are looking for their next promotion, that they tamp down anything that might make people not do what they're supposed to be doing. Like, that guy's yelling at that girl because she didn't do all her reports. And she's trying to tell them, look, something is, you know what I mean? But because she jammed up the workflow that is going to help that guy get promoted, she's a, it's the opposite of the squeaky wheel gets the grease. This is the squeaky wheel just gets replaced with a wheel that doesn't make any noise.
Or what's that other one? The tallest blade of grass gets cut first.
Yeah. So it's like they're just and they're setting it up for, that's exactly how they're getting in. Like, people are like, well, how can they get in? Well, it's like anything else. Like that guy was, he was upset about a love interest that then blew into him wanting to be a traitor, and I think they're showing that everyone has a different axe to grind. And because the Empire, everyone is jockeying to be the next step up, that they're not listening to the people below them.
Yeah, and why would I? You're below me for a reason.
Right. Well, Rebels got away from oh man, my mind is going blank tonight. The blue guy.
Thrawn.
They got away in that episode of Thrawn because the one guy wanted to try something slightly different and save the day. If he would have just followed Thrawn's orders, they wouldn't have gone away. And it's that pride,
And that's why Han Solo got kicked out of, being a pilot, because he didn't follow orders.
Yeah.
He went to save somebody, and that wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
I think we could do it. I think we could do an entire episode just on the heists in Star Wars.
What's your favorite heist? Like, off the top of your head.
In Star Wars?
Yeah.
I really like the train heist on Tatooine from Book of Boba Fett.
Oh, okay.
I thought that one was really impressive.
I'm torn between that one and the Solo train heist.
Ah, okay.
Because the Solo train heist, it was like it was that Han Solo's bad luck doubled. You know what I mean? Like, they're like just get through the Imperials, and then all of a sudden Emphas shows up. And then what did Beckett say? When Emphas showed up, he said something like, I'm going to hear about this, or something like that. And all of us that have been married for any amount of time, there's been those few times that we've been told by our significant other to do something the correct way, and we're always like, it'll be fine. And there's that time that it's not fine, and you're not worried about the thing not being fine, but you're going to hear that
well, and I thought that was another thing I liked about that heist specifically, was it also showed that the comment that was made in A New Hope of him, dumping the cargo wasn't the first time that he had to dump cargo.
Right.
He had done it before.
Yeah. Yeah. It's surprising he didn't have well, and again, the train heist from the Tuscans, that's another one that now that makes me want to go home and go back up and rewatch that tonight. I forgot all about that train heist, like how much I love that train heist.
I would love to get did you watch any of the Avengers Assembled shows where they did the behind the scenes of the Avengers movies?
I think I might have watched one of them.
So if you get a chance, watch the one for Shang-Chi.
Okay.
Because do you remember the fight sequence
in
the bus?
Oh yeah.
They show that they actually made a bus.
Oh, nice.
And it's on this gimbal system, and he's sliding on it and jumping through the windows. I want to know how they did the train heist for the Book of Boba Fett, because that was fantastic.
Well, this is Zoe went on the tour for Warner Brothers Studios for one of her classes, and this is somewhat related to. I'm just thinking of all the stunt work that's involved. She said the scene in the Batman TV show, because they're wearing costumes, when they run upstairs, they had to use stunt doubles. So when they run up the stairs, I think at the commissioner's office or something, I haven't seen the show in forever, but they had to just shoot that once, and they just reused that scene over and over again rather than get stunt doubles to run upstairs. And so I think of all that stunt work, which then leads me to our next segment, our podcast talk of what podcast you're listening to. I almost did it when you were saying you were listening to a podcast, but it brings me to, have you listened to Armor Party podcast?
I listened to one of them over the weekend. I was oddly enough working on a piece of costume stuff for me.
Nice.
And I was listening to an episode where the guy was talking to a female costumer from New York City, and they were talking. She was talking about how sometimes it's challenging to make costumes in a New York City apartment because of all the rules and stuff. And she still managed to make like 20 costumes or something like that in a ridiculously short amount of time.
Well, there's one with Brendan Wayne.
Really?
And I listened to that one. And so I've always had this list in my head of fame. I'm not a big meet famous people kind of person. If I meet them, I enjoy it. But I would say Star Wars people that I want to meet, probably George Lucas is number one. Like if I only could meet one, I would love to just meet George Lucas, whatever, and Mark Hamill. But after him, Brendan Wayne, more than anyone else. If you hear the man, he seems like, to me, the kind of person I want to be holding the Star Wars mantle, in a sense, because he seems like such a humble and genuine person, and he seems to love what he does, and he doesn't claim to be anything more than he is. And it's just a really good interview. He talks about costuming, which is really cool, because he wasn't really a costume guy, but he got to put a little bit of input in on the Mandalorian's costume when he wore it. And the one thing I thought was cool, so the Mandalorian's pistol rig that hangs, right? Well, he doesn't have a leg strap, around the pistol to hold the pistol thing down. Well, Brendan told him you can't do that with a pistol, that'll float around. So there's actually a tab inside the suit that hooks to his leg. So it just doesn't hang down like it looks. It's actually connected to the leg, the flight suit.
Really?
Yeah. Which I know that's what I found, which was really, really cool.
So, like, it's sewn to the costume, or
it's sewn. He said there's a tab, and they would hook it and unhook it. Like when he was sitting down, they could unhook it. But it's because he's a gun expert. Like that was part of, and the way he walked and stuff like that. But he was saying like he had his wife helped him learn how to walk and act in that suit. So he bought like a cheap Boba Fett helmet, and he was like wearing around the house. It's just
I'll have to listen to that one.
It was a really good interview. He just seems like such a wonderful person. Like Like he would be someone I would just like to meet him and just say thank you.
Yeah,
Because
see that makes me sad then, because this past weekend I know it was we already had troop time, but this past weekend was New York City Comic Con.
Yeah, and he was
And
there.
yeah, he was there, and because of all the stuff going on, I chose not to go
Yeah,
with the Mandalorian mercs, and I could have.
yeah,
But I
he
guess this
seemed
is one of those things that the stars weren't aligned for us to hang
well,
out.
and he just seems like he was talking in the one part. I don't want to give all this stuff away, but he was talking with the one part, and I guess when they approached him to go around and do cons and do autographs and make money, he wouldn't do it unless they would include all the guys that wear the suit. You know what I mean? Like there's the guy who
Yeah.
does all the martial arts and stuff in the suit. So, you know what I mean? Like he seems like someone who, really like it's just neat to hear. Just such a kind-hearted person,
That's awesome.
And
Unlike some of the stars who, if you even look at them from a distance at their table, they want you to give them $20.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Star Wars folks are like that, but I've been to other events.
I just remember that when I was at the Oaks, PA, I was taking a picture of Zoe and Safi like this, or I was taking a selfie and they were with me, and there was a wrestler at a table 15 feet away. They sent his manager out to tell me I couldn't take a picture of him, and I was like, "Look, I'm not taking. I don't even know who he is. I think I hurt his feelings." But there's Trick or Treat John is back. We still can't hear you, man. I see your mouth moving. I'm assuming you're saying that you're not dressing as Kylo anymore, and
I think he's trying to tell us that he's being pursued by ghosts.
Oh, okay. But yeah, I would. So we still can't hear you, but it looks cool.
And now I can't see it.
We come on, man. That's my job to have all the technical difficulties. I would listen to that episode of
Armor Party.
It's well worth it. The Chris Bartlett one's good too. The Chris Bartlett does one, but I would listen to the Brendan Wayne one. It was just really good.
That's cool.
That's a good show. I mean, I was reluctant because they stole your name for their other show, but so we see you, John, but we can't hear you. I see a thumb. He's just giving us the finger. Nope, still can't hear you. That's what he just needs to put YouTube on the screen and put us on the screen, but we still can't hear. So we're here with Silent John. He's like Silent Bob, but it's John.
And now he's Frozen John. Carbonite John.
Yeah. So that's the one podcast, and I've been listening. I just caught up with the Dad Batch too. So the Dad Batch is another good one I can highly recommend.
Yeah, I have to check that one out.
Besides, Star Wars Geek Girl, they turned out like they caught up on Andor like within a week. They were like Zoe's like new one in the drive, and then they just did a 2-hour show, and then they're doing one Friday. So
that's cool.
Because I think this week sometime marks their 7th. It's their 7th year anniversary, so they start their 8th year.
Man, that's awesome.
And now they're shows behind. They should have had more shows, but figuring the kids went all through high school. Like I think Zoe was 14 when they started. So I think she was just started 9th grade and Lizzie was in 8th grade. So they made it all through high school and finished college. Like Zoe's finishing college and kept the Star Wars podcast going.
And we just finished recording our 25th episode.
Cool.
With the forces behind Star Wars, and we've been at it for a couple of years now.
Yeah. Well, and again, Lizzie's schedule is not nearly as flexible as Zoe's. Zoe has the same gene as me, where she can survive on like 4 hours sleep. Lizzie and is lucky. Like Safi and Missy need regular, normal person sleep. Me and Zoe tend to just go and go and go. So.
I miss those days.
I'm not bad. I
gotta get back to it.
I just got to get for me, I just got to get my head on straight and just get back to just taking care of myself, like exercising and stuff. Because when I used to do that, I mean, I could turn out a suit of armor in a weekend. You know, like I would just like plow through stuff, and I just have a lot of stuff I want to get done, and I'm dragging on that kind of stuff. Here, we'll go to Costume Corner. So what are you working on, Ken? You said you were working this weekend.
Hold on 1 second. I'll go grab it.
All right. That's a nice Funko shirt you have there too.
Oh, thank you. Rogue One.
Nice.
And so I'm making a little baby Bjorn.
Oh,
I
okay.
will have a little baby Grogu in it. My next step is to plasti dip it in white.
Nice.
And I'm going to paint it to look like a candy corn. So it'll be yellow on the bottom, orange in the middle, and white on top. Because at work we have every month we do this thing called Thankful Thursdays, where we give out treats and gather the group together, as best we can in a large building with 1,000 or so people in it, just to appreciate the work that they do every day and give them the opportunity to slow down and just connect with each other over some sort of a snack. And so this month we're doing a cupcake truck. We're bringing a cupcake truck to campus.
Oh, nice.
And I'm working to convince the organizers of it, the administrators of the building, to allow me to come dressed up in costume because it'll be close to Halloween.
That's
and
cool.
So I want to have Baby Yoda. I bought a baby T-shirt to go over the Baby Yoda doll that looks like a jack-o'-lantern, and I'll be there in my Kennex costume with Baby Yoda strapped to my chest.
Nice. Now, do you have the Baby Yoda with the feet?
No, that's was it not Gentle Giant? There was another one, but
oh yeah,
I think Anthony has that one.
Yeah, I don't have the one with the feet either. So that's pretty cool. Yeah,
I got the baby sack one or the potato sack one.
Yeah, I think I have like 4 of those floating around. Here, let's see. John's trying to come back. You're moving around, John, but we don't hear anything. You're just gonna have to hold up cards with words. Still don't hear you, man.
We could do the subtitles. What is he saying?
You just move your mouth. We'll make stuff up. Yeah. I'm getting metal bikini next.
I just have to make sure I get the right cup size.
Yeah. I started working on finishing my archway. I worked a little bit on my Vader. And Keely's working. Like Keely's, I think Keely. My hold up on Keely is I'm gonna have to try to figure out how to sew the camera that he wears.
The comma.
Yeah. But it has like a pinstripe on the outside that matches the color of the paint of his armor. Like it's black, but it has that trim. So I think what I'm going to do is I think I can sew it if I figure it out, but I have to wait till I have everything painted. Then I'm going to paint a piece of fabric that same color and fold it in half and have it just stick out so it matches.
Okay.
But John speaks.
Art says that. Yeah, I was just saying, John speaks in a very silent way.
That is so I just know so if I have to celebrate the 7 years of Zoe doing podcasts, the technical difficulties can be so frustrating when you finally have the time to do what you want to do and you have these technical difficulties. Oh, there he is. We hear you.
Are you still there?
He was here. Then
he can't hear us.
He's like, what? But
by the time he gets on and connected, we'll be ready to close up shop.
But the other thing I'm trying is, so I don't have anything to print. I'm trying not to print anything because I'm getting backed up, and I'm like I'm forcing myself not to print anything until like I have an IG-11 sitting in my garage. I just have to assemble, and so I don't want to start printing stuff and just get backed up. So I have a file for a Sabine helmet, and a normal helmet takes like 3 or 4 days to print normally. I went to the finest setting I could set. Like, so that it takes 10 and a half days to print. And I just put some filament on, and I'm printing a Sabine helmet on the finest, slowest setting there is, and see how it turns out.
Wow.
So
And that's just on one printer, right?
That's one printer. My other printers I just don't have them running. 2 reasons. I don't have anything. I'm like, I got to get my Vader done, my Tuscan done, and my Keeley done before I start any big projects. Like I can't keep it. I'm looking foolish to keep adding projects to my list, because then I just get frustrated too. Like with Keeley and Vader, what's nice is, like, I'm Saturday. My plan is to do all the finish work on all my chest boxes and stuff. So I'm going to try this putty / acetone sludge you make with and it's supposed
Bondo.
to burn it into whatever. So I'm going to try that. So while that dries, I'll swing over and start taping off my Keeley, and I'll just go back and forth all day. That's how I work. Because the problem is, if I work on something that has pauses and breaks in it, I get sidetracked by nonsense. So that's the way I'll just have a list. Here's what I want to do today, and I'll do that, because you have the bell ringer in the background.
I don't. Oh yeah, the time grappler.
Yeah, time grappler.
Yeah,
it's okay. It's okay. So we were just talking about Costume Corner podcast. If you haven't listened to the Beskar Bucket, and John, I don't know how much of what we were talking about previous, try
Armor Party
with Brendan Wayne. I highly recommend that episode. And Star Wars Geek Girl.
The forces behind Star Wars should be up at least on Facebook by the end of the week, and hopefully up on your YouTube, not your YouTube, sorry, your
iTunes,
your podcast. Yep, that should be up by early next week.
Early next week, I can't wait that long. It makes me I listen to a few non-Star Wars ones, usually by the end of the week, because I have to start like cleaning my podcatcher out every week, because I subscribe to so many, and you just get backlogged. And certain ones, if you get too far behind, like I had some that were still talking about Kenobi. I was like, I think I'll have to if I didn't listen to them now.
Well, one thing too about some of those shows, it's almost, they have not an expiration date, but a use by date.
Yeah.
So they're not that they're not relevant. They're not as timely. They're not as, because they may say stuff in this episode that, let's say Andor. We'll use that as an example. Yes. So they may say something after the 3rd episode of Andor that goes against or contradicts something that they learn in the 15th episode of Andor.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, that's and I say this from the same you and I who make 3-hour podcasts or more on Wednesdays. Sometimes I wish some of the more timely ones were just shorter. Like, I almost wish they would, because I was trying to explain this to Zoe. I was like, look, you guys should do like a station break in the middle and do all your plugs in the middle, so that I have a place to cut it. If it's a 2-hour show, I can cut it into 2. Because sometimes, like, they talked about all kinds of stuff, which was, some was timeless and some wasn't. But then they talked about Andor. If I could have split that at a good spot, then if someone was like, I don't need the Andor talk, they could have moved on. But I try not to overmanage my kids' podcast. She wants to do.
At least John listens to you, because that's how the Beskar Bucket is built.
Yeah. So I mean, there's no perfect time length, because if it's a good podcast, I'll listen to it all. I think that Brendan Fraser one, I want to say it was well over an hour. Wayne, what did I say? Fraser, yeah.
That's the Encino Man.
Well, yeah. I do have calls into him to do Zoe's show too.
Brendan Fraser?
No, not Brendan Fraser. Wayne.
Oh,
I could try Brendan Fraser, but he's having a resurgence, so I would have probably had to reach him like 2 years ago, so before Doom Patrol hit.
I still haven't watched that.
It's good. I mean, it's I would say it's similar to Andor in the sense that you got to watch it. Like it's not one of those ones. You know what? Did you watch Umbrella Academy?
The first episode.
Okay, so it to me had, even though it was a lot different, it gave me Umbrella Academy vibes a little bit.
Okay.
It's just that type of, it. I know it's based on the comic book Doom Patrol. I didn't feel like it was as similar to the comic as I remember. Now I haven't read Doom Patrol comic in 20 some years, so I could be wrong too. But I mean, there's just a lot of good podcasts out there. I mean, I wish everyone would give podcasts. Podcasts to try. I think we would have a happier world if
Well, I
everyone
don't
would
know. I mean, I'd be cautious on that part because
Okay,
I mean, think about some of the podcasts that exist.
that's
I mean,
true.
there are politicians that have podcasts.
That's true. That's true.
There are pundits that have podcasts. There are people who claim that certain real world events didn't happen, and the people that those events happen to
Okay.
have been tormented and bullied by that podcaster.
Okay, let me rephrase my statement. If someone found positive podcasts like ours
There you go.
in the in our network, if they found those podcasts and they listened to those a little more than listening to news and stuff like that, then the world might be a better place. All right, John, you're frozen again. I'm gonna. That's not a very flattering picture either.
He's really trying though. We
He's
gotta
trying,
give
but-
him. John,
telling
you get the gold star for tonight.
There is no. I wish I would have. I wish I would have kept notes of all the technical difficulties we used to run into. And I remember I bought a new mixing board. Let me see. He's still frozen, or he's just holding his breath. I just remember when Zoe interviewed this one girl from California, and they had to redo it twice. So they recorded the whole show 3 times. There we
I
go.
think my favorite story is when your dog turned off the power supply.
Yeah, that's the one. He turned it off twice. John, can you talk? We still can't hear you, man. Oh, wait a minute.
We heard the curse.
It's like I think we're gonna find John just sitting shaking back and forth in his Kylo suit. No, so this is one thing I do want to bring up because I almost forgot it and I just saw my note. So I am thinking of starting a costuming fan group based on, or the hook is going to be Star Wars family, right? And it's going to be attached to Zoe's show in some way, shape, or form. More in the United fandom type vibe. Because I'm looking at if we start this fan group, it won't be any, like, it won't replace the 501st or it won't replace whatever. But I think it would be a neat way to show the positive fandom in a group and get recognized by Lucasfilm, so we would get the straight invites from Lucasfilm on Lucasfilm events. And that's, mainly because I know people that get those invites because of their fan group, and I'm not looking, like I said, I'm not looking to circumvent anything other than I just think it would be a good way to recognize the positive fans, both in costume, because I'm thinking of a family fan group where people troop as a family, and that could be biological family or found family. So us 3 as found brothers, or maybe I'm the father and you're the kids. I don't know how that works, but that's a family of people that have the same positive outlook. And I don't know, costume standards or whatever, all that kind of stuff, but just as one more positive way to get people, to funnel people up towards to eventually being in the bigger groups. So,
well, if it was a Game of Thrones costuming thing, then I guess that brother-father thing could work.
It's true. Uncle Dad,
Wait, was that your voice? Was that
We heard
John?
it, but it's like a really badly dubbed movie.
Well, we're trying.
No, that worked. Now,
We
that
heard that
was,
we're trying.
Yeah.
And with that, we're gonna wrap it up for tonight.
Okay, let's see.
Catch us next week.
We were no. But so like I have you friends like you, Marty, Dan. We have Chris Freed who does a Vader he lives outside of York. He's in the 501st, but he has a chopper that he's working on. His daughter runs the chopper. She's probably like, I want to say she's 9th grade. She runs a chopper. Because it's just for something to do. And that's my thoughts. So that's what I gotta talk to Zoe about it before I attach anything to her website and stuff, because I know some of the requirements. You need like a web page, and there's not the requirements are, the bar is really low. You know what I mean? Like when it comes to starting a fan group, only because there are some Lucasfilm events that get limited, but they don't get limited to, like, each group gets a limit. So if you're a group, it gives you opportunity, because like people like Marty, he gets direct invites from Lucasfilm, like above and beyond. Like if there's a Phillies game, usually the Phillies call Marty and say, "Hey, can you bring your Chewy?" So.
Yeah, I'm definitely not at that level yet.
Yeah.
I usually get the call. I know you're thinking about coming to this. Could you not?
No, but see, I think what happens, and it's not as bad in most groups. I think most groups are good, but I have heard the horror stories of where a venue will say, "Hey, we need as many people as possible," and the group or groups will say, "Well, okay, well, we can bring 10," when the place just told them they would take as many as possible. You know what I mean? And they put a self limit on it, and I just want as many fans to experience as much Star Wars as they possibly can. And after trooping, like after what me and Marty and those guys did Sunday, it did reinvigorate me and remind me why I like to troop. Like just helping people out, and I I hope to be doing more. Once we get some more things going, I just got to get 2 more weeks of just getting all my school caught up, and then I should be good. Unfortunately, then it's winter time, and then it's harder to work on stuff. But
Yeah, I got to figure out how to get some spray painting done before it gets too cold.
Yeah, well, that's what I got. I think what I'm going to do is build a filter box in my garage, and then I can spray it, and I'll just suck the paint down into the filters. Is what I think I'll do. Because if you spray in the garage, man, if you don't have stuff covered, man, I've ruined stuff. John, did you hear about my print? My 10-day print? I am printing a Sabine helmet on the highest detailed settings possible, and it's going to take 10 days. Because I have nothing else to print. I just want to see what it looks like.
Yeah, because he's not taking commissions from Ken anymore.
No. Well, did you commission anything from me? Did I print? No, that was John took your commission.
Yeah, John took my commission for the shoulder bells.
Did he forget?
I gotta look.
Listen, I see. That's where I got to get myself back in gear, because I have all the I have some good files from 3 Demons, which are copyright free. Like you can use them, whatever. And I just need to make molds of those. Like if someone just needs, I should just print one for you, Ken. You clean it up, give it back to me, and I'll just make a mold of it. And then we'll just have
Yeah.
You can have shoulder bells out the butt, man. Just because
I don't know if I'd like that or not, but
yeah, that's true. But I gotta get a flight suit. I gotta wait till you can't buy anything from any of those online Halloween places right now, because you're not going to get any kind of sale. Come like November 5th, I'll get like 60 emails, 60% off. So
it's funny that you say that, 'cause I'm actually gonna order one of those Mando costumes just so I can use the flight suit.
Oh yeah, they're nice. I mean, just order it big, because 2X wouldn't fit over my shoulders. Like I couldn't zip. Like I thought it was going to my stomach, but it was my shoulders. I couldn't zip it over my shoulders. The flights.
Do they go longer, bigger than 2X?
I think the one I went to went up to 4X.
Wow.
Just check the measurements. I forget which one I ordered from, but I'll probably order from Cosplay Sky next, which I think is the better of the two. Because I think some of them it's literally what dimensions they put on their website, and you just got to be super careful when you do your measurements.
Yeah, at this point I need a 2F for 2
Well,
flat.
I tell you, nothing keeps you in shape as good as wanting to wear armor, though. You know, like I put my TK
Round
on.
is a shape, but that doesn't count.
Yeah, but I put my TK on, and I must be thinner because it fit me better Sunday. Because I honestly, the space between my chest and the ab plate, because mine's straight, it bent. If I have a gut, it makes it a little wider. And it was pretty thin. I was like, oh man, I'm either sucking it in or I lost weight. So
my posture has improved.
yeah.
Yeah, I still need to work. I think I decided I'm going to do a TD.
Wait a minute. TD is what? Desert Sand Trooper.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
Quite
man.
a bit, aren't we?
Yeah, we're getting like a delay. Like you're calling on a
delay, and it's broken up.
Yeah.
So we're just making up words. He wants to do a touchdown something.
He wants to do a touchdown dance.
Like William the Refrigerator Perry.
Yeah, there you go.
And was it the 1986 Chicago Bears?
I think you're right.
Yes.
I think you're right.
See, I know some sports ball stuff.
I think 85 is the last time I watched football.
I'm trying to think. Was it the 85 or the 86? I think it might have been 85.
No, it might have been 86, but I'm saying like I really stopped. I stopped one. Let's see if I can find this.
Yeah, I watched football before Brett Favre decided he wanted to steal money from the government.
Oh yeah, wait a minute, what was that? Yeah, that was pretty.
He was stealing welfare money from him.
Oh man.
Yikes. Actually, we should do an episode of our show where we talk about all the different sports and or games that show up in Star Wars.
Oh yeah.
And it can be card games, it can be, games of chance.
Yeah, so here, let me show you this. So we have 2 people listening. I'm not condoning this website whatsoever. I mean, it's not a bad website, I think. This one here is the one the teacher shared with me. Have you guys seen this before?
No.
Stormtrooper store, right? So now there's the picture they show, right? This is the picture they show, which to me looks like it looks like an FX kit, which isn't bad. I mean, if you're just a normal Joe, but they sell all these parts, right? Like you can buy individual parts, which is, like your Sand Trooper, you can get a Sand, but again, I don't know how good this is because these look like stock photos. You know what I mean? Like that looks like you could have probably pulled that off of like an FX kit. But here, ready to wear. Look. So here's this is the scary part. $1,000, but they have 2 sizes, 3 sizes actually, which makes me think this might not be the armor that they're actually selling you, because if you look at these kits here, they have bubble eyes and everything. Like that's Empire Strikes Back, but I don't think Empire Strikes Back had the bubble eyes. So again, I don't know. I don't know anything like about these guys. Like this, to me, this picture, this looks definitely like an FX kit because if you look how these caps fit. So I don't know. I'm just a little, they could be great. They could be wonderful. But I don't know.
It looks shady.
That's a lot of
to me.
Huh?
To me.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Now I know, who used to have blanks for some of this armor was Joe at Headshot Props.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he used to be a distributor of one of these. And so I don't know if this is the same. It was someplace out of UK, but I never saw any of his armor pulled, So because again, the problem with FX armor is if someone bought the FX armor, you might be able to get in the 501st with it if you got a new helmet, but I don't know if even the ab plate would pass anymore. So I don't know. Again, that's how my Monday started, being asked about TK armor from a music teacher. It's hard to explain to non-costumers armor in general, but over an email to someone who doesn't understand, like it's not off. You can't. I don't care what size TK armor. You're not going to buy it off the rack. You might be able to put it on, but you're going to be bloody after the first time you wear it because you gotta.
Well, and there's all the bits and bobs and stuff like that. It's not like buying a pair of pants. I mean, there's more to the costume than just that.
Right, and again with that site, they went like $1,600. If it's not right, you're not going to know it's not right till you start putting it together. And
also too, in for his sake, he doesn't have to worry about the CRLs. Or he's just wearing it to wear it.
Right, but like I told him though, I said it could look right to you when you're putting it together, but if anyone else has armor that looks even right, then it might look really wrong.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I
think John is making room to do squat thrusts or something.
I know, right? Look, he's in the movie theater.
He's gonna record a fitness video.
Well,
I've been sitting all day. I need to move.
The other thing that I think it was Old Line Garrison used to do library visits, but they used to do panels of not only what the 501st Old Line was about, but also armor building and stuff like that. They would do panels with question and answer, but they would do it at public libraries. Like I've seen them do it at conventions and stuff, but you're kind of preaching to the choir. Where if you do it at an event where you might get the people that aren't necessarily familiar with it, that seems to me would be a fun place to do one. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like the Mando Mercs, I would love to see do. But
yeah, I mean, if you get like anything about costuming, and I think that would be interesting.
I think we understood what John said. He said it would be interesting. So, well, and the other thing with the few panels I've seen that go the wrong way is all they do is talk about the money. And I'll say this, and I've said it many times: if we all sit down and add the money, whether you're like rolling in it or not, it's if you just put a dollar value on the time and effort you put into costuming, you're looking at it the wrong way.
Well, and the other thing to that is it's not even necessarily the money you spend on the costume. So for instance, we have the where we live, I don't have a lot of room.
Right.
So I don't have like a workshop or anything like that. We have a storage unit where a lot of my stuff is put, even my tools.
Yeah.
And so just recently, I've invested in 2 or 3 different containers that like toolboxes that I can put my different parts in, my different tools in, that I bought on purpose for my costuming stuff.
Yeah.
So even though I didn't spend that money on the costume, I spent the money on the things to make the costumes. So that should be, added in, factored into those, dollars and cents that you spend on the costumes.
Oh yeah. Well, I have a belt sander and a what do they call it? A detail sander. I would have never bought those for any other reason other than, costumes. Luckily for me, I have a Ryobi outlet near me. So a lot of times I just wait till they'll have like everything in the store half off or something like that. So I can get like a Reman Dremel for like $40.
Oh my goodness.
Well, not Dremel brand, it's Ryobi brand. Like I have the Dremels that sit with a box, and I think I didn't pay more than $39 for those.
Wow.
And they have I think they have like a year warranty on them. So
is it just called the Ryobi outlet?
Yeah, Ryobi outlet. So next time you're in Rockville, I don't know, there has to be one near you. You have like an outlet mall near you anywhere?
Yeah, but I've never seen Ryobi in them.
Yeah, I don't know where, but they're well worth the visit, just because their tools. I subscribe to the guy from MythBusters,
Adam Savage.
Adam Savage's tool. His tool mantra is: you buy the cheapest tool you can afford, and if it breaks, you just have to buy a little better one. But if it doesn't break, you made out. Yeah, because we're cutting plastic. It's not like I don't know if I would trust some of the Ryobi tools for the really big things, but they work well. They sell all the Ryobi stuff at Home Depot.
And Adam Savage is a great Star Wars connection because he was one of the model makers for the prequel trilogy.
Yeah, yeah.
So he knows a thing or two about making stuff.
Yeah. What town you live in?
I live in Mays Landing. For all of you listeners out there,
Mays,
stop by.
Is it apostrophe S or all one word?
2 words, no apostrophe.
There's a Ryobi outlet at Rehoboth Beach. I don't know how far that is from you. That's your closest store. It says it's 66 miles away. So
thanks.
There you go. That you might have to yeah. There's in Pennsylvania we have one, and then they have one in Delaware. So all right. Well, I tried.
Well, I mean, Rehoboth isn't that far. I drive about an hour each way for work every day. So.
Oh yeah. I'm about an hour. That's what makes the summer I wind up missing podcasts when I'm not working. So then I get really, but they're good for my shop. So, but anyway, any closing thoughts? I don't think we have any. We have troop time. We've done what we're building. John, what are you building? We can't hear John. Oh no, there he is.
Maybe.
Huh? What's the no thumbs? Huh?
We're just gonna have to chalk this up for It was great to see you, John.
Yes, very great to see you.
And to hear a few words from you. Your recording in the car was better than the recording where you are.
Yeah, well, that's probably the theater too. Like I said, we're man, the old recordings of Zoe's shows, I had to take the recordings, then I would have to run them through Audacity, and then Mike Pilot gave me a bunch of add-ons to put in Audacity to then level out the sound, because Lizzie's sound would be really high and Zoe's would be low, or vice versa, and then I have to run them through that to level them out, and then I have to take that and put it in GarageBand and then try to clean it up. And I mean, we were talking like they'd finish a show at midnight. I'd be working on it till like 2 a.m. to get it passable, And
then for our first episode, I ended up spending probably 4 or 5 hours taking, because it was Anthony and I had never done anything like this before, so we'd have lots of spaces in our talking, because the equipment that the software that we're using, and or we were just struggling to get that rhythm of conversation down in all of this stuff. So at least now we're at the place where we can run through a 90-minute episode, and it's like 5 pals or 4 pals just talking. It's really nice.
Well, when Zoe graduates, I'm gonna have to wind up paying for Zoom, because she gets the better Zoom through college, and then when she graduates, I'll have to pay for the monthly subscription to Zoom.
Or she can do it with her new job that she's getting.
That's true. Or she can use this. Restream is what I don't mind paying for that, because there's so much potential. So she could just record a show, and then I can just yank the audio off too.
Yep.
So.
Well, I'm gonna pack it in for the night.
I'm about ready to pack it in. This is a good one, except for John not working. But
well, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Wasn't that what Milo said?
Yeah. So we're got a 66.6%. That's okay. All right, guys. Well, thank you. Yeah, it's actually not even crazy late either. We're getting better. Thanks for those that stuck around. 2 of you.
Good to see you, Ark and E-Girl.
Yeah.
Thanks for hanging out with us.
All right. Good night, guys.
See you later.